The very book the government does not want you to read just went #1 in the world. Steve McConnelly, Collective Spark. George Orwell's 1984 is a classic book depicting a populace ruled by a political regime that persecutes individualism and independent critical thinking as thought crimes, quote-unquote, that must be enforced by the thought police. This party seeks power above all, and through the propagandist Ministry of Truth, presents the people with their vision of truth and casts away all other information and opinions. Sound familiar? It's exactly what's happening today right in front of our eyes, it seems. The Ministry of Truth comes in the form, at least on social media, as fake news watchdogs. These are entities that are flagging information that threatens corporate and political interests and labels it as fake news when a lot of it is in fact the complete opposite. And since when does an authoritative entity like the government have to step in and decide for the people what is real and what is not? Are people not capable of examining sources and determining this for themselves? These fake news watchdogs have some interesting sponsors. One of these sponsors, for example, is NewsGuard. They are funded by Clinton donors and Big Pharma with ties to the CFR. You can read more about that in the link here in the article. Campaigns and government agencies who are threatened by information also seem to be employing an army of bloggers, surrogates, trolls, and bots on Twitter, Facebook, and by email to try and sway discussion and brainwash people. The world knows why the hunt for Julian Assange was ongoing for so long. It's because he leaked secrets and exposed those who kept them. He exposed the lies, corruption, and deceit that represent the backbone of the Western military alliance and the American empire. He exposed, in the words of John F. Hyland, former mayor of New York City, the, quote, real menace of republic, unquote, the, quote, invisible government which like a giant octopus sprawls its slimy legs all over cities, states, and nations, end quote. He exposes the ones, quote, who virtually run the United States government for their own selfish purposes, end quote. He exposed immoral and unethical actions that have no basis and justification. He is a hero. And the same thing goes for National Security Agency whistleblower Edward Snowden, who leaked classified documents regarding the scope of the U.S. government's surveillance programs, which is and was huge. He is and was not the first. William Binney did the same along with Thomas Drake and many others. Edward Snowden tweeted, "Today everyone is on the list, no matter how innocent. Systems of mass surveillance strive to record all people in all places at all times. The question is no longer am I on the list, it is what's my rank on the list?" So keep in mind that this is a global mass surveillance program. Snowden recently released a book about it and more. He tweeted again, "Yesterday the government sued the publisher of Permanent Record for, not kidding, printing it without giving the CIA and NSA a chance to erase details of their classified crimes from the manuscript. Today it is the best-selling book in the world." Permanent Record is the title of Snowden's book. The title is Permanent Record, Edward Snowden. Now, in the book, Snowden goes into great detail about how he risked everything to expose the U.S. government system of mass surveillance. In it, he reveals the story of his life, including how he helped to build that system and what motivated him to try to bring it down. Mass surveillance, facial recognition, etc., are justified by the national security state for the purposes of combating terrorism, for example. But what does the connection between terrorism organizations and the U.S. government say about these programs? If the U.S. government itself or factions of it are arming these people, creating them and carrying out false flag events, blaming them on them in order to justify infiltration of a country for ulterior motives, as well as the heightened of the national security state, which involves mass surveillance, this means that their justification for these programs is a complete lie. So what is the reason for them? This is well known. A few years ago, current Democratic presidential candidate Tulsi Gabbard introduced the Stop Arming Terrorists Act, which would stop the U.S. government from using taxpayer dollars to directly or indirectly support groups who are allied with and supporting these types of groups in the Middle East, for example. Now, as far as false flag goes, many believe the chemical gas in Syria were orchestrated by those who are not of that government in order to justify infiltration of the country. Now, protecting national security has now become an umbrella term to justify immoral and unethical actions. Perhaps Snowden's book sheds light on that. I have yet to read it. William Binney is a former high-ranking intelligence officer with the National Security Agency, the NSA. He's had quite a go, starting in 2002, when he let the public know of a system, Trailblazer, intending to analyze data carried on communication networks like the Internet. He exposed the agency's eavesdropping program and has faced harassment from the FBI, NSA, and more. He has been in and out of the courtroom ever since he decided to resign and blow the whistle, and Binney has not stopped, one of the highest level whistleblowers to ever come out of the NSA. He's now saying this: at least 80% of fiber optic cables globally go via the US. This is no accident and allows the US to view all communications coming in. At least 80% of all audio calls, not just metadata, are recorded and stored in the US. The NSA lies about what it stores. The ultimate goal of the NSA is total population control. The takeaway, the conclusion is this: at the end of the day, the US government suing the publisher of Snowden's book is only bringing more attention to the truth of mass censorship and that the global elite are losing power, and the more the global elite respond the way they are with this, like the mass censorship of information, alternative independent media outlets being shut down, and jailing people like Julian Assange, the more they hurt their own interests, which is inspiring for humanity as we awaken. This article, the very book the government does not want you to read, just what number one in the world, was originally created for collective evolution and is published here under Creative Commons on Collective Spark. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.